Hello everyone and welcome to Action RPG Build Guide Edition. Today I'm ready to drop on you my new and improved Shatter King build. Of course, as always, we are going to break down gameplay, skills, passives, gear, and of course, break down the character sheet. Now, as always, everything is timestamped in the description below if you need to bounce around. Let's not waste any time and jump right into this. For this build, we're actually going to start at the training dummy. It's important to understand where the DPS comes from so then you can understand the gameplay easier, okay? Now, this build, in my opinion, has 3 different levels of damage. Standard Shatter Strike. Not that much, 6,000, 6,000. You get a crit there of 33, okay? That's just base damage. You then also have Enchant Weapon. So when you hit Enchant Weapon, then you Shatter Strike, you're now getting 50, your damage is basically doubled. Okay, now the third stage of damage on here is when you use Firebrand plus Enchant Weapon on your Shatter Strike. Okay, so now watch. We're gonna build up our Firebrand, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit Enchant Weapon and then use Shatter Strike, then use Firebrand again, then use Shatter Strike. Ready? And Enchant Weapon, Shatter Strike, Firebrand, Shatter Strike. That was about 750,000 damage, okay? Let me show you again. Regular Shatter Strike, okay, by itself. And I normally just use that as I am clearing trash. When you add in Firebrand, okay, plus Enchant Weapon, it's an absolute monster. That first time we hit it, it hit for about 840,000. And this isn't fully geared, and it's still only level 82. So imagine where you can take this build from a damage output. Easily, if you spend the time, you can get it to 1,000,000 damage. Okay, gameplay. Now the skills I'm going to be using for this are Shatter Strike, Teleport, Enchant Weapon. I'm actually using on here Flame Ward, but I have it auto-triggered, so I don't need it on my bar, so I keep focus on for any time I need mana. And then, of course, Firebrand. I will explain it when we break down the skills, okay? And we just teleport around, literally just killing everything. Now, obviously, this will do totally fine in Empowered. So it is an end game character, and I will say when you're talking low level end game, and I explained this during my first build guide for this. This is one of those builds where you can run Empowered probably as early as level 70. And it does not have a very heavy item cost. Like, you don't need to grind like crazy to find very tough items and build it a certain way. Now you also notice as I am running around, we are keeping a fairly consistent amount of ward up, which will help keep you alive. That is new for this version of it. I'm going the wrong way. Take that. Also, the damage that I showed earlier at the training dummy, that hits in an area. That's AoE damage. So not only is this amazing for single target, it also crushes everything around you, and we take the largest possible area. So now we've got a boss. So I'll hit him with the build-up. Dead. Easy. Seriously, the damage is crazy. Okay, let's fight the Shade of Orbis, and I will show you just how tanky and how much damage this really does. Shade of Orbis. Jump out of there.
Pain, an eternity of pain, unchanging. Resist. This means nothing. The enemy will come all the same.
You probably don't believe how fast I killed him. Let me show you how to recreate this build starting with skills. And the first skill we're going to look at is Enchant Weapon. Give you 1 second to screenshot it. Moving on, you want 5 into Cell, 2 into Shivering Blade, 5 into Frostbrand. Then you want to come down this way, 1 into Frozen Sparks, 4 into Concentration, 1 into Desperation, and 2 into Efficacy. Now, if you did have 22 points into, or if you had 22 points into Enchant Weapon, your extra 2 points would go right here and max this out. It gives you less mana cost and it gives you increased melee elemental damage. Okay, so if you happen to have more points for Enchant Weapon, put them right here. Moving over to Teleport, which is new for this build. We used to use Surge, but now I like Teleport because of the ward generation from it, and it is a better movement skill. So we went to Teleport. How you want to spec this is 5 into Barrier, 3 into Out of Body, 5 into Stable Bubble, 1 into Out of Mind, 5 into Elemental Affinity, and 1 into Unstable Arrival. Now this 1 point is free. I just put it on knockback on arrival to give me some space. You could go into cold resistance or armor. You can go into lightning resistance, stun avoidance. You could even go into elemental dawn. I just like having the little extra bit of survivability with that knockback on arrival. Now I didn't use it at the training dummy, but if I really wanted to push the damage even further, we could have used Firebrand, Enchant Weapon, Teleport, then hit with Shatter Strike to get the extra 50% increased elemental damage. So you can do that as well, but Teleport not only is going to give you great survivability and ward, it is also going to boost the damage for your Shatter Strike through Elemental Affinity. Okay. Moving over to Flame Ward. Give you 1 second to screenshot it. Moving on. Now this has become a staple skill for me, and I literally run it the exact same way for every single build I use for my Mage. You want 3 into Dilation, 5 into Stalwart Defense, 5 into Barrier, 3 into Desperate Defense, 1 into Astonish, 2 into Fuel the Flames, and 1 into Dual Aegis. Now what this means is that you can use it 2 times. And right over here under Astonish, every single time you get stunned, it auto triggers. So you probably noticed, I mean, you might not have noticed it when I was actually playing. Anytime I got stunned, it automatically triggered, which means since it's on auto and it's not like a numlock trick, it's actually autoed through the game, I don't actually need to keep it on my bar. So since I don't need to keep Flame Ward on my bar, I can take it off and put on Focus. Now, why would I want Focus? This build is pretty mana focused. So if you happen to use all of your Shatter Strike and now you're out of mana, for me, I can use Spacebar and bam, I could pull my mana right back up through Focus, not even having it spec'd in it. So it's just a little added, oh dang, I'm out of mana. Now I can use Focus because you get that extra skill on the bar. Works really, really well. It is also new for this build. Moving over to Firebrand. Give you 1 second to screenshot it. Moving on, you want 5 into Pyro, 3 into Fading Flame, 3 into Hypo, 2 into Warding Flames. If you have extra points, put it here. 3 into Fulmination, 2 into Wildfire, 1 into Incineration, 1 into Illuminating Fire. I should have probably started this way. This is the most important node on this skill tree, Illuminating Fire. What this means is that it guarantees so that when you have 3 stacks of Firebrand, it always crits. So as long as you have 3, it always crits. That means through all of your gear and passive tree, you don't have to worry about crit chance. What you want is crit multiplier. 3 always crits. Okay. Last but not least, the bad boy Shatter Strike. Give you 1 second to screenshot it. Moving on, you want 5 into Shiver, 4 into Cold Steel, 4 into Lingering Chill, 3 into Breath of the Cold, 2 into Whiteout, and 2 into Ice Flow. Now on here, it is heavily mana focused. You actually can run this skill lots of different ways. You could pull 2 points out of Icy Flow if you're okay with your mana. You can pull points out of Lingering Chill, and you can go this route into Absolute Zero or Cold Presence. It works even better if you're using gills and you can get this skill using gear or skills that can get this up to 24. You can go this route. This is more damage against enemies that have health or increased damage but less attack speed. I like running it this way when you just have 20 points, but you can, if you want, pull these two, and go this route. That is personal preference. I like running it this way. That is the skills. Moving over to passives, and right now this character is only level 82. Only 82. All right, you want 8 points into Elementalist, 8 points into Arcanist, and 5 into Mage Flurry. That's it. 21 points in the base tree. And technically, if you need an extra point, you could pull one out of here, okay? Sorcerer, for now, nothing. And then move over to Spellblade. This is going to be 74 points. 6 into Elemental Affinity, 8 into Infused Weapon, 5 into Frozen Steel. This is cold. 5 into Arcane Shielding. We want that shield to stay alive. 5 into Essence Duel, attack speed and ward gained. 5 into Mana Reaver, 5 into River Blade, 1 into Gemini. This allows you to dual wield. 8 into Prismic Blade, 10 into Razor, 10 into Blade Weaver, and 6 into Mental Fortitude. So right now I am actually leveling up Mental Fortitude. This is where I would go to continue to build ward. Now, let's say you have a level 100 character. Aaron, I'm level 100. What do I do? What's really cool is that you could go over to Sorcerer, and if you want the spell to spend the points, spell critical strike chance really doesn't help you. Increase spell damage doesn't really help you. Mana and armor helps you a little bit. What you can do is you can spec into Sorcerer. Okay, you could take Intelligence. This is good. And you can go right here. Increase cold damage through Chiromancer. And right here, Chill to the Bone, Cold Penetration, and Cold Damage Leech. I can't spec out of Spellblade to spend the 5, 10, 15, 20, or 25 points required to get this. But if you have a fully 100 character, you could tweak it a little bit and get Chill to the Bone, which is going to give you Cold Penetration up to 15% and Cold Damage Leech, which is huge. But being a low-level character, I don't think it's worth speccing into Sorcerer before you get all the goodies in the Spellblade tree, okay? Those are the passives. Moving over to everyone's favorite gear, starting with idols. Now again, this character is only level 82, and this is a character that I really have only played over stream. So we haven't hunted and farmed tons and tons of endgame gear. Now when it comes to idols, there's only one you really want to look for, and these are these large idols. And they give you increased melee elemental damage plus increased melee cold damage as a flat stat. And it can roll as high as 70 and 4. This one's 48 and 3, and the other one I found was 38 and 3. So not super great rolled idols, but those are the main ones you want to look for. For the rest, I just filled it in with some resistances that I needed, some added cold damage, health, life, but mainly added cold damage, a little bit of armor, mana, and frostbite. But you can kind of fill in the other idols as you see fit and what you find, but the two big ones you need are these, right? Moving over to gear. There's nothing required for this build, okay? There's nothing required. That being said, if you want it to really sing, and I mean you could probably push in-powered monos at level 68, you need Shard of the Shattered Lance. And yes, you can use these at level 68. What makes them so great is they give you a flat base to melee cold damage and increased damage to melee cold damage. On top of that, they give you health regen and freeze rate multiplier, and they're a common drop. I've probably found 50 of them, so they're very easy to find. Absolutely amazing for this build, but technically not required. You could just use a great sword as well that's rolled right, but this is what's going to make it really sing. Now we're going to go through the items one by one so you can check out my gear. Helmet, again, not required, just a really good in slot at level 65. This gives 12 to dex, 12 to intelligence, and I needed the necrotic resistance and gives you ward per second, so it scales really well. You could craft something better than this, but again, it's nice to just be able to throw it in. This unlocks at level 65, and just in case you didn't know, Shatter Strike actually scales with dex and intelligence. And it's rare that you see that, dex and intelligence put together. It's even more weird when you see a unique item that gives you dex and intelligence, okay? Amulet, cold penetration, increase cold damage. You saw the weapons. Armor, dex and intelligence. Ring, dex mana regen. Belt, cold mana regen. Ring, mana regen and resistances I needed. Relic, crit multiplier and cold damage. Boots, dex, crit avoidance, speed, hybrid health. And gloves, there's lots of different gloves you can go, but to make sure you get melee damage, leached as health, and then increased melee attack speed. Okay, that is the gear. Moving over to the character sheet. Now, like I said, right now I am only level 82. Right now I've got 47 points into dexterity, 41 points into intelligence, and only 5 in vitality. So I wish that was higher, but it is hard speccing dex, intelligence, and vitality. Movement speed, we're at 34%. Not great, but again, we are going to be using teleport as our main movement skill. Resistances, we are maxed. It is a thing of beauty when you see this. I needed to throw in a couple idols to get physical max because it was sitting, I think, at 70%, and we're over on cold, but it's really easy to scale cold, obviously, with this build. We don't use block, got a little bit of armor, a little bit of dodge, but your main survivability is going to be ward and ward retention, because every single skill you do is going to use ward, and anytime you're stunned, again, you are going to auto trigger your flame ward, which is also going to keep you alive. When you look at damage, you don't have to worry about any crit on here, because Firebrand, having 3 Firebrands up is going to guarantee your crit. Crit multiplier right now is 222. I'd feel a lot better if this was closer to the 300s, but it just is what it is with gear. And then obviously you want to scale as much cold damage as possible. Right now we are at 265. But try to imagine getting this 265, let's say closer to 400, maybe even 500. And then get your crit multiplier into closer to 300, you will easily be critting with your triple strike for over 1,000,000 damage. You just got to get those good exalted rolls on your gear. And of course, obviously, leveling up the character closer to 100 would be great as well. That is the character sheet. All right, everyone, that's the build guide. I want to know what you think of my new Shatter King. Is there something I missed to push this to the next level? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm sure you've heard by now that I've officially started to Twitch. Most of these builds we build together over streaming. It is a fun community event. First link in the description if you'd like to go there and support me on Twitch. It's always a good time, and for the most part, I'm always doing a giveaway. If you haven't had a chance to join the official Action RPG Discord, please do so. We're now over 1,300 members, great conversations every day. The idea is to create a gaming community that could jump from game to game together, so you never start the server alone. Link for that Discord is also in the description. And on top of that, all 20 of my build guides that are ready for 084 are also in the description. I hope you all enjoyed the Shatter Strike build guide video. Hopefully you were entertained or at least learned something. Aaron, out.